Wholeness, beautiful beings, welcome to Notes of Nara. My name is Naja Rashida, and may this message find you well and whole. All right, continuation of our shadow work topic for November and December. The number one sign that your self-healing is working. The number one sign that your self-healing is working. The number one sign that your self-healing is working is when you unlock the ability to give yourself closure. When you unlock the ability to get up in the morning before going to bed, or you grab a moment to yourself, you have this awareness of your true internal power of counseling, soothing, validating yourself. Closure. This is something the inner child seeks. Reasoning, an explanation. This is something the wounded, emotionally neglected, rejected, abandoned individual deeply, deeply, deeply seeks for. The void that we will fill to feed this gnawing hunger of closure, validation, to feel emotionally secure, to know we're not losing ourselves, we're not going crazy, to feel seen, to feel heard, most of all to be understood, to feel understood by others. When the spirit is hungry for closure, for validation, and for all the things I've listed, it creates this vampiric, parasitic energy. A lot of the time, in my self-study and the study and observation of others, through my own personal life experiences, I've come to the conclusion that we don't really have to worry or shouldn't really put so much emphasis on the energy vampires that surround us on a day-to-day basis, but actually we should look at ourselves. We are our own energy vampires. When we are not able to give ourselves closure, to soothe our own wounds, we then go on a hunt on a subconscious level and release these energy hooks, frequencies that become a match to what we like to call the narcissist, what we like to call the energy vampire, what we like to call a draining personality, or, just the out there, the they, right? It's the energies outside of me that are, bringing me down. And I have to pull this to the forefront. No, it's not the narcissist. It's not the energy vampire outside. It's not your draining family members or friends. It's you. It's us. We deny ourselves. We starve ourselves. We believe that our hunger that we have, our spiritual hunger, the hunger of the spirit, we believe that that's just caused by something outside of ourself. And so we look outside of ourself to feed this parasitic energy that won't go away until it's fed properly. Oh, if I move careers, if I move to a new town, if I dump my friend group, if I develop this new spiritual practice, if I leave this religion, if I leave this lover, if I find a new lover, if I stop making this amount of money, if I make more money, if I sell my business, if I open up a business, all of those things on a surface level, yes, serves a purpose. It's very important to allow that ebb and flow of change to come into your life, to allow things that, allow yourself to receive and release those things. Yes, it's very important for our growth, I feel, as human beings. However, does all of that feed this energy within ourselves, this void, I should say? We can become parasitic to ourselves. And this is shadow. The shadow is hungry. It's hungry, and it hungers for you. It hungers not for the lover, not for more money, not for more acknowledgement, not anything from the outside. It doesn't care about that. And we bend over backwards trying to fill this void of all those things outside of ourselves. Oh, if I do this ritual. Oh, if I do this, chant this mantra. Oh, if I hunt down this guru. Oh, if I get my birth chart read. Oh, if I get an energy reading. Oh, if I do all these things. Oh, if I hire a therapist. All those things are great and they have their place. But there's a choice that we must make. A very important choice that we must make, and that is to acknowledge the vampire within ourselves. And it's almost like this vampire is a shadow. It's us. It's the shadow aspect of our consciousness that we often ignore and ignore and ignore and ignore. And I have to say, I'm no longer ignoring the void within myself. Do I have it all figured out? Absolutely not. I do not have it all figured out. Do I have all the answers? No. Some days I slip up. I reminisce. I go backwards a little bit. But it's the ability to recognize, to sit with it, and to love yourself through it all. I have very specific practices that I do that help me. They're actually quite simple, not overly complex, that help me out. We all have our inner magic, our tools, metaphysical tools that can help us. Recently, I thought this was very profound. I'm not a big fan. There's a couple of songs I like of hers, but she ruled the 80s and 90s. Yes, the great Madonna, okay? Not the biggest fan of her work or even her personality or her stage gimmick, her image. I'm not a big fan at all. I think it's very materialistic. However, she has a song called Material Girl. However, there's one song I really like, and it was in the 90s. I think it came out in 98. It goes, na 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 na. It's a haunting song and very dark and gothic, and I really like that. But yes, Madonna. She recently had an interview with one of YouTube's really big podcast people, and her whole essence, okay, I was blown away. I was blown away. This world famous celebrity woman that, She pushed a lot of buttons regarding religion and her Catholic faith, definitely sexuality, femininity. I mean, push the envelope, okay? We all know. But in this interview, she's in her late 60s now. And she talked about the importance of having a spiritual life. And on her spiritual path, she dealt with, she took she's Kabbalah, okay, the Kabbalah. And she just, I was just blown away by the whole interview, to be honest. I truly was. She put emphasis on nothing matters in the material without a spiritual life. Without a spiritual life, you will always feel lost. And this is a multimillionaire speaking. This is someone who's had a huge influence on pop music, pop culture, femininity, sexual identity, right? I mean, profound influence on society and with her music. And again, I'm not a big fan, but I caught myself watching the interview for, I guess, over an hour of it. And she was dropping dimes. I mean, it was very insightful and confirming. Someone who has such prestige and, I mean, up on the pedestal in the material, very highly material, highly superficial world. I mean, she's even had plastic surgery done. She changed her face and everything. I mean, all of that. But watching her sit there, and she was so present in that interview. And there's something very vulnerable and very humble. And it could be that she's in that season of life where things are slowing down, right? With how our bodies age, we slow down. We begin to deeply reflect so that we're preparing for our death. I feel like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, right? 60s and 70s and 80s is I think one of the most powerful spiritual seasons in a human's life. And so with that, how am I tying that into this? And as we are embedded in a material, superficial world, and now it's more digital and virtual now, every day, it's becoming more digital, more virtual, more artificial. Again, it's, I will say, a really big challenge for humanity right now is finding closure within the self. The more materialistic, artificial, digital, and virtual our reality becomes, the bigger the void, the hungrier our spirit becomes. And those who have a strong spiritual life, whatever that path may look for you, whatever your moral compass is, your ethos, that is your choice, that is your path, that is your decision. The ability to give yourself closure allows yourself to open to liberation. It's something to give the self the ability to have that power to soothe your wounds, okay? I can heal myself. I can heal the wounds. That is profound. And it's so easy to say that. But when you are able to do it and you know you have the ability to heal yourself, that's when you really know what you're doing, your inner work is working. And when I say the ability to heal the self, you see, it all starts with a choice. We have to choose to get help. We have to choose to ask for help. We have to choose to be disciplined when we receive tools to help us. It means nothing to hire a therapist if you're not going to implement practices or mindsets that the therapist is guiding you to put into practice, right? It's almost like you go to the doctor, you have an infection, you go to the doctor prescribes herbs or medication that can help clear up the infection. You go home, you don't take the medicine, you don't take the herbs, you don't take the medication, then your infection either gets stronger, right? Or it weakens, but it's never really clears up how it should, right? That's part of self-healing. You have to choose to use the guidance that's given to you, that's shown to you, that's revealed to you. But closure, the ability to close and to seal the wound yourself and say, I am done. I am done with the wound. I am done nursing the wound. I am done addressing the wound. I have dressed the wound with all that I could give it. And now it is time to release. Allow the scar to allow your tissues to heal. You know, oftentimes we believe if we repeat a traumatic event enough and verbalize it enough, that verbal processing is healing. No, that's not real healing. Healing is, yes, you give space to allow that energy to have a voice, and then you have to alchemize it, okay? You have to allow certain tools and practices, advice and guidance, and you take those tools and you implement it, whether that's journaling, therapy, writing, artwork, music, speaking to trusted mentor or a group of friends, going to a support group, you know, using more or two or more of those methods on a consistent basis. That's real healing. What I've noticed on my path, especially with myself, it's almost like you don't have to keep regurgitating the same old stories anymore. This happened to me. When I was this old, this happened to me. This happened to me. This happened to me. And it's like it's a broken record. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just there. That's not healing all the way. Talk therapy is great, but then you have to do something with that energy. Turn it into a movie, turn it into a book, turn it into a song, a piece of artwork, turn it into a TED Talk. You know, truly turn it into a prayer. This is how we can use simple things, simple practices, you know, build a whole ritual around it and do the ritual until you feel that closure. When I think of wounds, right? I remember an energy reader told me one day, and I don't get energy readings hardly ever because I do my own readings, right? And she said I had a whole rip in my aura, and I felt that. I truly did. I felt I completely resonated with what she was saying because that's exactly how I felt. It was all the way up my lower energy centers, my sacral and my solar plexus, like all the way from the root all the way up to my solar plexus. And I will say, I've always, when I had that wound, right, it was wide open. And I always felt just intimidated by other people. I was intimidated by myself, with my own energy. I was doubtful, couldn't really follow my own internal compass very well. And it wasn't until I had the space when I moved out to the desert, and I started using my art as therapy. And I drew a picture of my inner child. But also in the picture, I drew the wounds, right? Physical injuries that I had, a very serious incident that took place many, many years ago. Drew that into the picture. I drew what my inner child revealed to me. And I kept that for a really long while. I had it on the wall, and then one day it was time for me to release it. The fissure, right? The wound fused and it healed herself. And I did the same thing, like with my heart, with the broken heart, betrayal, right? I drew a whole, and I used color, I used all these things, and I used that as my own art therapy to heal myself, to acknowledge what was there. And I didn't just draw a picture and hang it up on the wall. No, I said prayers about it. I looked at it. I meditated on the images. I read books on the healing of the heart and connecting with the inner child. I did all these things, modalities to help me process these things. And so, yes, the number one sign that your self-healing is working is when you're able to give yourself closure and you're closing up you're sewing up your wound. You've taken out the infection, you disinfected it, wiped it clean, you spoke to the wound, you're nurturing the wound, you wrote about the wound, you talk to people about the wound, because yes, sharing your trauma, sharing these things it's part of the healing process. But it got to a point where I'm like, I don't tell everybody everything. It's like I usually will share stories to help relate or to help mirror or to help someone else process something, but now it's even become where I don't necessarily feel the need to overshare, like I did before. There's no need, really. It'll just become a story. It's no longer really an experience, but it's just a story that took place in my lifetime. And it takes a really long time to get to that space, But I'm finding that this ability, we all have it. We all have it. And there's so much suffering and hurting in the world. People, when it comes to trauma, I've working with people, children and adults throughout my life, in the past 12, 13 years of my life, in medicine and education, I've come to the conclusion human beings will take one or the other, two paths, okay? Either they will go out of their way to hurt themselves to deal with the wound, with their trauma, or they will hurt other people. It's never really in the middle. A lot of the time, people will go out of their way to hurt other people or to hurt themselves. I've seen this in addiction. Usually addicts are hurting themselves. They will put the most, blunt, damage on themselves, on their body, before they would go out and physically hurt other people. They'll hurt themselves first, right? Or cutters, okay? People who have, deeply mentally, psychologically troubled, they will self-medicate, hurt themselves. And yes, and in turn, they can also hurt other people, but they usually do about, I'd say 65% of the damage on their body, on their person, on their mind. And then there are others that are so traumatized and that they don't want the hurt. They're not going to hurt themselves physically, but they'll take it out on lovers, through cheating, infidelity, right? They'll take it out on their children, physical abuse, physically abusing other people, or SAing other people, because they need a sense of power, because they feel they have no power, and so they dominate and control, other people, or they'll just go to, retort to physical violence and commit crimes and all these things, steal and take things from other people. And yes, do both these paths intertwine? Of course they do, but there's always a little bit, it's like that's what I see, especially in our youth. I see a lot of that where kids will either internalize their pain or they externalize their pain. And when they become adults, it's even more profound. But either way, everyone just ends up hurting everybody, you know? Because if you... Oh, I love tea, oh my God. If you are constantly hurting yourself, internalizing your pain, you're completely numb to what's happening and how your pain affects other people. If you are constantly externalizing your pain, hurting other people, you have no idea the depth or the karma that you're causing for yourself, right? So no path is better than the other. They're both hellish, and in some regards, we all have done it. Okay, we've all been there, or we're there now, or we will be there. Who knows? But this is just, I'm telling you. And just because you unlock this ability of self-healing, of closing the wounds, doesn't make life any easier. Doesn't make everything just mystically, magically, like, perfect and okay. No, not at all. However, it's very empowering. Empowering in a sense where you're still in flow with the all. You're still in flow with the womb of all creation, source of infinite intelligence, right? You're still open to guidance and flow and trusting in the whole process when you are unlocking this beautiful gift of self-healing. And that's not to say you're going to be completely by yourself alone. No. You know, sometimes self-healing is making that choice to go to that healing seminar, that group of women, sit around the campfire and share your stories, and you share yours, and you burst into tears, crying and sobbing, and all the women gather around to support you. That takes bravery. It takes bravery to implement this ability of self-healing. It's not easy to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable with yourself. That's key to using this ability of closure. You have to be vulnerable with yourself. You have to be honest. So with that, thank you so much for being here. And continue sipping this delicious tea. And may this message find you well and whole and happy. And thank you so much. And please share your thoughts below.